This is The Edge of Innovation, Hacking the Future of Business. I'm your host, Paul Parisi.
And I'm Jacob Young.
On The Edge of Innovation, we talk about the intersection between technology and business, what's going on in technology, and what's possible for business. Well, today I'd like to welcome Paul Rush from Substantial. Now, let me ask you a question. So the end point of saying, okay, I'm going to go to school for computer science and music, that's fine. But you talked about entrepreneurship, and that's sort of the art of money getting, how to get money.
Sure.
But what was your motivation? What did you want? Why did you want money when you were a teenager? Or did you not have that?
Well, we were not a wealthy family, but it wasn't for the desire of money. It was almost like this interesting or fun game to play.
Okay.
There were certain things that I wanted with the money, but
so
they were not.
Did you go out and get a job mowing lawns or doing something to say, I want that resource, I want that utility that money does? And were you motivated to do that?
Yeah, it's like a nerdy answer, but it was. I did get jobs all through high school, and it was mostly to be able to get closer to computers or to buy books or something.
Okay, so I think that's an important thing to realize, because I wanted to work as quickly as possible. I got a job at 14, and I went in relentlessly with the owner of that business every day after school, going in, hey, when are you going to hire me? When are you going to hire me? When are you going to hire me? Because I wanted to buy stereo equipment. And that developed the drive to do something. I'm not at all a money-grubbing, kind of person. That's not what drives me. But it was, oh, gee, I want to get that computer. I want to do this. Well, I need resources to do that. Because you highlighted computer science and music, and I can imagine a musician being very introverted and going off to college and learning that and coming out very introverted. The same thing with computer scientists. They're very introverted. They're not the best social people in the world. So,
yep.
But you had a radical approach to that. You've also mixed in entrepreneurship and that social capability. And I'm trying to identify what caused you to get outside of that box, because you could have been really pigeonholed in that.
Yeah, well, I was never really in love with the computer stuff just for computers. It wasn't like a programming fascination.
Mm-hmm.
It was that networking thing. It was really about the fact that computers could let you connect to people that you could never connect to in the sort of quote unquote real world. So I think I had a bit of that to begin with, although, of course, like most geeky teenagers, I had lots of shyness to overcome, but I really wanted to. That said, I know entrepreneurships who come from all different walks, and a lot of them are extremely introverted. I think probably more 50 to 60%, I would say, are introverted, but they have a desire, generally speaking, across the board to engage with reality and to understand how human beings work, because at the core of, I think, every single business is an understanding of human psychology and why people buy things, why they desire something over another thing. So there's a lot of the human factors that go into business, and I don't know if I always hear people talking about that, but it's super important.
Well, and also I think there's this romanticizing of business and entrepreneurship and innovation that people think it's luck or it's easy. And frankly, I've never done something more difficult than start a business.
Yeah.
It's not just the market, it's the people, it's the product. It's just so many levels that it is all encompassing. So you went off to school. Where'd you go?
Carnegie Mellon.
Okay. So great school. And so you come out with a CS degree and a music degree?
Yeah.
What are you going to do with your life?
Well, I had my one and only job for about 6 to 9 months. I was recruited by a company called Trilogy that was an internet.com like poster child of excessive spending and hilarity. So many amazing people at this company. They've gone off to do a ton of entrepreneurial stuff. This group was a special group of people, but it lasted only about 6 or 9 months. And then I started my first real company. So it was pretty much right out of the gate that I was interested in.
So was it that
business.
The company was faltering? You said they've done really well. So were they part of the bubble and it burst and you had to find something to do? Or
No.
And so you're 9 months out of school and you're going to go start a business.
Well, I wanted to start a company right away, but I felt like, I quote unquote should go do something.
Okay. So your parents must have thought you were crazy. Or had they learned already?
They probably already knew that. I was super strong-willed. I didn't want to take money from them. I wanted to figure out how to make my own way.
Right.
And so by the time I was doing all this, they were just kind of nodding their heads and following along. I've been doing fine and supporting myself. They were panicked at that point. But I was very lucky to have parents who were very progressive and accepting of me following something. I don't know what that would have been if I had said I'm going to tour Southeast Asia as a yoga disciple. They might have had something different to say, but fortunately that part worked out.
So what year was this about?
This is 99.
Okay, so at the height of the bubble.
Yeah, but I left that company before that. It's just the culture of the company. Right.
You started a company. Were you crazy? I mean, well, if you'd done it a year and a half later, maybe it would have been crazy. But so you started it as the bubble was about to burst. What did that company do? It
was consulting for the music industry. So we ended up getting hired to build technology systems for a bunch of music companies. The biggest one was a very large project at Sony Music. Mm-hmm. Ironically, they were basically building iTunes about 6 years or so before iTunes launched.
Okay.
And I learned there that, large companies, to the benefit of entrepreneurs, people with vision and perseverance, they have no idea how to get out of their own way. I mean, it was watching Sony at work from the inside was baffling. No group talked to any other group, and the politics were impossible. And their relationship with the other big labels was just abysmal. It was hilarity ensued.
Well, I hear you, and I've observed it firsthand, but it's really sad in a lot of ways because there's so much potential that is squandered in that friction that occurs.
Yeah.
It's very sad, in my opinion.
I don't know if it's being an entrepreneur or being an engineer or both, but you wind up looking at the world and seeing so much, I don't want to say wasted, but I'll just say that for now, like wasted energy. And human potential and time and resource spent on things that aren't going to go anywhere, or dysfunction and organizational problems stop things from actually happening that could be. And you can see it in government, you can see it in companies, you can see it probably in groups of friends. But people really limit themselves and each other, and it's very frustrating. And you can find examples of this everywhere. Even if you're just thinking about traffic in like a place like Los Angeles, think about the number of man years of effort wasted every day of just people sitting around in traffic. It's horrible.
Yeah,
but certainly at big companies.
Yeah. So okay. So you did this consulting. Was it your company, a consulting company? Is that what you did?
Yeah. Yeah. And I hired a bunch of friends, and we were off to the races and making a good amount of money.
Okay. So but this is a huge shift because you went from being a computer scientist, programmer, and a musician to running a business.
Yeah.
Those are vastly different things.
Yes.
Yes,
they are.
Were you initially good at it, or did you have a lot to learn?
I think the big first lesson that I learned, you start a company, you're really excited, you've got some friends with you, and then nothing happens. There's no business, there's nothing to do. I was sitting there wondering why money wasn't coming in. Mm-hmm. And I'd made some phone calls and sent some emails, and it was kind of hard to find clients. And I realized pretty early on that if you want to be successful in life, you had to put the effort in, you had to leave your surroundings, you had to get out of your comfort zone. And I feel like, I don't know, maybe a lot of people don't even make this first hurdle, but I think that's the first big hurdle for whatever industry you're in. And so leaving my house and going talking to strangers and calling random people was a thing that I had to do because, after a month or two of not doing that, money was starting to run out. And there's that beautiful thing in entrepreneurship that I'm sure you know about, where when your back is up against the wall, you start figuring out problems, figuring out how to solve problems. And so that was like just a revelation. It was hard. It was very hard work, and it was scary putting yourself out there that way. But that early lesson, that's probably like the single, there's probably a lot of single biggest lessons that I could say. Well, but that's such a huge one.
Let me dig into that. So did you intrinsically know that you had to do that, but you were avoiding doing it, or did you not have a clue?
I think I didn't know it. Then I heard that that's what you're supposed to do, and then I avoided it like the plague.
Mm-hmm. Did you have somebody coming alongside you, an advisor, to say, hey, Paul, you really got to do this? Or was it just like, the world's collapsing, I don't know what to do, what do I do?
If I remember, I don't think I had anybody at that time who was really in that role. I did later, for sure. But I think I was just reading business books as much as I could, probably reading business books instead of going and getting clients. And at some point, the same advice sunk in, which is I gotta hustle. You gotta make something happen. Otherwise, you're just sitting around.
So how did that go for now? On one hand, you're an introvert because you're a computer scientist and a musician, but you were seeing that the web was a way to connect people. So you seem to be somewhat of a people person in these two fields. But so how did that go?
It went a lot better than I expected, and I think that's one of the things about saying hi to strangers and talking to random people that our society is losing a little bit by being so connected through devices.
Placebo connections, yeah.
Yeah, right. These immaterial, non-substantive connections. They're teaching us that is the way to live. And the reality is that we're still these biological creatures that have not evolved in the last 100,000 years in any meaningful ways. And I feel like everybody really needs to keep this in mind when they're thinking about how we make decisions and how we connect with each other, that our systems of behavior have been basically coded from a long time ago when we were tribal. And it was super important to be able to look at someone and see, can you trust them? And I'm sure you know it's how important it is to establish trust with people, both people you're working with on teams, as well as people that are going to be giving you money to provide a service or a product. The way that you do that most effectively is by sitting down with people. And that's why we still do so many meetings in person. And even video calls are not high fidelity enough to develop real relationships. So it was really about that. It was about getting out there and starting to meet people in person. And it turns out that people want to meet. The more busy people do not want to meet because they don't have enough time. Or sometimes they do. You have to figure out how to get on their schedule, how to get in their face. But in general, people want to connect. And it seems scary to get out there. And it seems unapproachable if you're younger or you haven't done it before. But it's something that is immensely valuable to practice and get good at.
Does your organization need help with your IT? Savior Labs is a Boston IT firm that cares for your business and team. We solve problems so you can focus on what you do best. Talk to us today about your biggest technology problems. Just follow the link in the show notes and enter the code EDGE for more information.
Okay, so you built this consulting company, had your friends in there, you figured out that, oh my gosh, I got to go put myself out there to get the business. And I imagine you got business.
Yep.
So you closed some business, you did the work, you delivered, you felt good about that. Did you sell that company, spin it down? Does it still exist? What's the next step?
Well, I ended up doing so well with it that I was so idealistic at the time. This is embarrassing to say because I was like 22, I think. I was really jaded with where technology was going. It didn't seem like it was about having fun discovering things and building cool things. So I hung on to contracts for a while, but I basically spun it down and decided to do music full time.
Okay, that's interesting. Was that a crisis of faith in technology, or what was that? How would you characterize that?
It was a crisis of faith, I think, in humanity. And I still think I have this, where Silicon Valley was at that time so money obsessed and so money hungry that it felt like it was warping the original sort of nobility and wonder that was associated with exploration of technology.
But that hasn't changed, would you say?
No. And if anything, it's gotten several orders of magnitude more intensely focused towards money.
Right.
Little did I know at the time that it would continue that way forever.
Well, yeah.
Or at least for the next 15 years.
You leave people into their own devices. So You went in music. What does that mean? You started playing music, or what was that?
Yeah, I was helping out a company in Berlin called Native Instruments that did music software, and I'd gotten deeply into electronic music and DJing and audio production, and I was playing festivals, and it was like entering into another life.
So it sounds fun.
Yeah, I mean, as fun as things are in life, I mean, they sound, it sounds fun on the outside, but it's tiring and it's difficult and full of ups and downs. But I mean, is it at times totally incredible? Absolutely. I mean, that was such a fun time in life.
But something happened and you switched back into business, entrepreneurship?
I couldn't stay away from the pull of just having so much background in technology and being kind of in love with it. So I ended up talking to some record labels and asking them if they'd want to put some of their music online to sell. It was originally for DJs. That was the idea.
Oh, interesting.
And it was a platform to sell people music online before iTunes, MP3s, because a lot of people were now DJing with either laptops or CDJs. So they were needing sources of music.
Okay, so this is a great opportunity to discuss this. How much were you selling the music for?
I think it was $1 an MP3.
Really? That was very wise at that time. That was revolutionary.
$1 to $3 maybe was the most expensive.
And so why aren't we talking to Steve Jobs right now? I mean, why aren't you as rich? Unfortunately, he's passed, but he's a fairly wealthy, successful example. You had it before him.
There's many answers to that. I mean, a lot of people had this idea of doing this. The most practical answer is that Steve Jobs and Apple are a hardware company and a lifestyle company with broad reach and strategic interconnections among the products that are incredible, which we all know. Mm-hmm. But this company was, I was dedicated to this niche audience. And at the time, I was, again, being struck by the idealism of the head that I was in, and really wanted to sort of like liberate the world of audio producers for the DJ community. And that's just a very small market. And at the same time, you're competing with lots of file sharing. So
time too.
Yeah. I mean, it was so easy. It was just, you could reach out into the ether and pull down hundreds of tracks that were just released. There was no SoundCloud. There was no anything else. So all the discovery channels were basically, you got the music for free first, and then you had to make the leap to go buy it. Sites were not navigable. There was no real discovery process outside of going to the record store and using file sharing. This is I think, classic problem of an idea a little bit before its time. There are companies that do this now that do okay, but they're very small, in the tens and 20s of millions of revenue. And also just the market dynamics, the fact that you could go get free music somewhere, then once you've got that, there's no real reason to buy.
Was that a problem that you guys fought against? Is that, well, they could just go to Napster and download it?
Yeah, it was that. It was discoverability. It was getting people to pull out credit cards when payment systems were not super sophisticated. Yeah, it was a very different time than today. I mean, we forget it's very easy for humans to get into this trap where we think, the world has been like it is for a long time, but there were no smartphones, there were clunky music players, there was no way to pay easily online. So it was a totally different world.
And so when iTunes started to come out, what was your reaction?
The same thing that happens, I think, anytime when a person's starting a business and they see a competitor come out, particularly one that's much bigger. It was, oh my God, the sky's falling. This is the end. And then you realize that they're not going to do the same thing that you do, or there's ways to have competitive advantage. But it was a great legitimizing moment at the same time, because suddenly there was this force in the world that was changing the buying behavior.
Right.
And that's a big thing in the world of getting new products to market, is that if you want to change the way consumers think about the product or category, it can be very challenging, because you have to teach people a new behavior. You have to adopt it and share it. So sometimes there are cases when large companies help you with that, and it winds up helping you out. And in our case, I mean, it didn't. We ended up shutting the company down after a couple of years. There was a lot of work put in and not much output.
Now, was that funded? How was that funded? Was that VC or
seed funding? Yeah, funding. I'd raised money.
Was that friends and family, or was that just angels?
No. I mean, I reached out to a very well-known internet founder mogul who I had read an article was very interested in music, and I cold called the guy and flew to where he was, and I got a meeting with him, and he funded me on the spot.
Really?
Yeah. So,
what an experience. That's cool.
I never would have been able to do that had I not learned, the lessons at the first company around getting out of your comfort zone. I think one of the cool things to keep in mind about, when you're selling someone something, whether you're trying to hire someone, which is, this is all sales, whether you're hiring someone looking for funding or trying to close a deal with a buyer, really understanding their headspace and what they're motivated by makes it a lot easier to do this. And so knowing that this guy was super interested in music was just a huge leg up. And when we met, we connected almost instantly. And if I'd approached other buyers, which I did, there's just no way to bridge the gap of, I don't know who you are, and I don't know why this would be interesting to me at all.
Yeah, then you have to get into the numbers and the economic value of somebody, and then there's interpretation.
Yep.
There's no
that's right.
Nothing filling the sales beyond the numbers, and that's not very good. We've talked about iTunes, and one of the things that I think that was clever about what Apple did was they provided a circumstance where you could want something and get it very easily at a very low cost, buying music.
Yeah.
And that's really the insight. There's great industrial design, there's great software design and all that, but they got out of the way, and you come down to the thing where the person says, I want this, and I can fulfill that right now, and I can do it for $1. It's not buying a $15 CD anymore. I can get what I want very inexpensively, and I think that's the wisdom of the whole Apple, one of the most amazing things of the whole Apple ecosystem.
Yeah, I mean, Apple does this very well. I think one of the principles of product development that's worth keeping in mind when you're building something is that the amount of friction a customer experiences in the journey will determine in large part how successful you are. And our jobs as product developers and product designers is to lower that friction as close to zero as possible. I think that's what music companies were really struggling with for a long time, is they had convoluted systems to buy music online, digitally, that had all sorts of restrictions. And file sharing services were frictionless. You just get on there, type a name, and suddenly you have something. And I think it is amazing that what customers will do if you provide something that is at least as frictionless or more frictionless. Less friction than what exists is actually, becomes a plus now. When, the Apple iTunes store launched, you just type a name and you'd buy something. The credit card was on file, and it was a seamless transaction. And it's so weird that the music industry didn't get that that's what they needed to do for so long.
Well, that's the definition of innovation. I mean, it's not definition, but it's the impetus for innovation is doing something differently for, different ways. And innovation, and it seems innovation and entrepreneurship are inextricably bound. And in their very fabric of everyday life, you have to innovate and you have to be entrepreneurial. We've been talking with Paul Rush today of Substantial, and he's been joining us from Seattle, and we've had a great conversation about both entrepreneurship and innovation and businesses he's been in. Be interested in feedback from our listeners, other areas you might like us to explore, whether it be science fiction or people problems or things like that. Well, thank you for coming on, and I'm sure we're going to invite you back.
Thank you so much for having me. Really appreciate it.
The Edge of Innovation is brought to you in partnership with Savior Labs. Savior Labs exists to help businesses mature and strategize for the future. Learn more about Savior Labs at saviorlabs.com. Thank you for listening to this episode of The Edge of Innovation, Hacking the Future of Business. For the show notes and more information about Paul, please visit paulparisi.com. The Edge of Innovation is produced by Jacob Young in conjunction with copious amounts of coffee. Music on today's episode was from bensound.com. Paul can be found on Twitter at pdparisi and on LinkedIn at linkedin.com/pdparisi. This episode, like all our episodes, is transcribed and available at paulparisi.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.